good. What is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel and welcome to a brand new video. Now today I have a very good video for you all. As you can see next to me, we have the Mercedes AMG G63, all thanks to ICarGezina out here in Pretoria. Now do check out their details, which I'll leave down in the description below, and their Instagram will be on screen right now. So we'll be doing a full review on this thing, and I really do hope you guys enjoy this one. Let's get right into it.
As I woke up one morning, just thinking about this night. As I woke up one morning, just thinking about this night.
So, the Mercedes AMG G63. Now, I think this one needs no introduction. Everybody knows this thing, everybody loves it, and it's everywhere amongst celebrities, soccer stars, musicians, all the types. But let's actually start with a bit of a history. Now, the G63, well, the G-Wagon in general, full name is Gelandewagen, started as a military vehicle. It used to be an off-road military vehicle, and it was first conceived as a civilian vehicle back in 1979, and ever since then we've been able to enjoy these things. Now, I feel like it's very iconic for its design because they've kept it very basic. They've ran with the same design for so many decades. I think it's been around for like 44 years, and even when you look at the side profile, it's still the exact same silhouette, the front design, the way the lights are layered out, the bumpers, pretty much everything. That is why it's very distinctive, it's very imposing, and it stands out from a mile away. Now, this is the current generation. They've recently actually announced a new one that's coming in like 2025, but as it stands, this one is the current generation, and this example is the edition one, which is a bit more special. It does have some red flashes on the exterior and the interior trimmings, which we'll get into in a bit. Now, this is the top of the range AMG G63, and up front you have the AMG grille, which is the Panamericana grille, and this one is in the lovely matte black paint color. I think the edition one was also available in a white color and a gloss black color, but this is the matte paint. You have these very beefy front bumpers, and look at how they protrude. This literally looks like a bench that you can sit on. You have a Mercedes emblem sitting proud right there. These iconic turning signals, they've been like this since the very first G-Wagons. Very beefy, very wide arches, and it's just insane. The rims, this one is spec'd with the 22-inch AMG multi-spoke rims in this satin black color, red brake calipers with AMG badging on it, and the edition one has these red pinstripes and the red AMG badging. So up front you can get a glimpse of the suspension. This thing has double wishbones on the front, which is stuff that you normally see on supercars and sports cars. V8 bi-turbo on the side, letting you know what engine it's packing. There's a little red decal on the mirror you only get on the edition one, and once again the edition one comes with this AMG stripe on the side. And one thing about the G-Wagon that is cool is the side mounted exhaust pipes, which are so cool, and when you're driving inside you can absolutely hear this thing. Once again on the rear, very beefy arches that stand out and protrude. Massive rims again, 22 inches once again on the rear, gripped by 295 section tires, very wide tires. If you come around to the back, I think the iconic thing about the back is the spare wheel cover. It's just so cool. And you have G63 on the right, AMG on the left, and the bumpers, massive, very beefy. There's a tow hook. I wish this could be tucked away electronically, but it's permanently fixed. But with that being said, let's actually check out the interior. Ooh, one thing I like, these very clunky doors, and you can hear that mechanical feel of the locking mechanisms and these exposed hinges, which is just insane. So the G-Wagon interior, oh man, that door feels very beefy and clunky. Now I think one thing that's needed is a grab handle, because it's quite awkward when you're outside and you're trying to climb in. This thing is actually very tall. Now I'm gonna start the car so we can run through some of the systems. Oh, that exhaust, that is insane. Okay, now the G-Wagon nowadays identifies as a luxury off-road vehicle, and you see the luxury within the interior. I mean, leather everywhere, quilted stitching, premium carbon fiber materials. The whole thing feels very solid. Now Mercedes-Benz in general are not known for the best interior quality, but in here, man, all the materials that you touch, interact with, that you see and feel, it's all, yeah, it's very nice. There's like the IWC clock in the center. Back in the day, Mercedes used to do that. I think now they put it in the infotainment screen. Now this being the edition one, like I mentioned earlier, there is unique carbon fiber trimmings in the interior, red tinted carbon fiber. You got these red accents on the seats with red stitching, quilted leather. These are heated and ventilated. There's a little AMG badge right there. It's just, man, it's such a special place to be in. Although I've noticed the window switches are actually plastic. Would have been nice to have at least metallic looking plastic just to add to that premium feel. But in here you actually have the older infotainment screen from Mercedes. I think this one dates back to like the 2016 era, and yeah, it's been left behind and neglected for quite a while. But like I mentioned earlier, they've actually announced a new one coming in 2025. It's gonna have the new steering wheel, the new infotainment screens, and so on. So in here you do get stuff like Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, but it's still wired. You still need to plug in a cable somewhere here in the center cubby. But yeah, it's not a big deal. But everything else, one thing I liked, I noticed this one crazy Easter egg. If you look at the far outer air vents, the one on the left and the one on the right, they are housed by a square shape, and inside the vent itself is actually a circle, and on top you have the sound system speakers. To me, they actually mimic the front, because you have the lights on the front, there are circles that are sitting within a square, and you have the little indicators on top that are mimicked by the speakers, which is quite a cool Easter egg. I do like this grab handle on the passenger side. It's been there since the first G-Wagon. Practicality is quite good in here. I mean, the glove box for one, it's not the biggest, but it's decently sized. The center cabby, this is a huge space. It's very deep. You do have some relatively big door pockets. You can fit some large bottles, and yeah, man, it's beautiful. The carbon fiber, the quilting on the door, the speaker grills for the Burmester sound system. I noticed there's also another speaker up on the ceiling. The roof lining is Alcantara. You have red seat belts with the edition one. It's really nice. It's really nice. It's far more improved compared to the previous generation, and very premium, very classy, very striking. And I think that's where I'll leave it off with the cabin. I think now let's actually check out the room in the back. That is so beefy. Yeah. It's very awkward getting back here because the doors don't open that wide. The seat is far back. But yeah, basically for a luxury big SUV, it's not the roomiest, especially when it comes to leg and knee room basically. But headroom is actually plentiful. There's like a dent on the roof or an undulation to make more extra room. But back here, it's nice. It feels more like a bench, but the seats are still trimmed nicely in the nice soft leather with the same red trimmings, red seat belts, the quilting, the perforations, yeah, and all that jazz. But I wish they did a full glass sunroof, because this tiny puny sunroof just looks ridiculous in here. It would have made this whole cabin feel a lot more airy and let in more light basically. But back here you have basic climate control vents, nothing too special. I don't see any USB ports, but there is a 12 volt, well actually a 5 volt socket, but no USB ports, so you can't plug in your devices and all. There is a center armrest with some cup holders right there, but they're exposed, they're not covered, so it can be a bit awkward. But yeah, that's pretty much all I have for you with the back seat. So the boot space on the G-Wagon, you're looking at 667 liters and boot capacity. You can actually fold these seats, and then after folding the seats you get a total of 1,914 liters. As you can see, there's a load cover which you can hide away your luggage back here, and it's retractable. It's a bit tricky to operate. There we go. But yeah, there's nothing more special back here. There's no underfloor, and as you can see, it's very tall. It's almost up to my waist, and this car doesn't come with air suspension, and a lot of the luxury SUVs have air suspension, and there's a dedicated button in the back that you can press for the car to lower a bit, so it's easy to lift stuff in and out. But you do have some netting, you do have some tie down points, and like I mentioned, I'm not sure if I mentioned, there's no underfloor, which is, yeah, that's all you get. Still quite nice and premium. I mean, you still get the leather here, and oh man, that spare wheel looks so cool. This is a very heavy tailgate. Side opening as well. I like that clunky sound. Okay, so let's get into the technical stuff. We'll start with the engine. Now, right here, you're looking at the infamous engine. This is part of the M176, M177, and M178 family. Now, they are all a 4-liter twin-turbo V8 with different tunes, but it actually goes far beyond that. Now, this actual one is the M178, so it's shared with the E63S. Now, in this case, it's making 430 kilowatts, which is around 585 metric horsepower and 850 newton meters of torque. Now with the M178, you actually get 2 twin scroll turbochargers which sit right there in the middle within the cylinder banks, and that helps in reducing turbo lag. This thing is very responsive, of which you'll see when you get into the drive. Now the G-Wagon is an off-roader at heart, and it still has a leather frame chassis where the body simply sits on top of a frame. Now up front you actually have double wishbone suspension, which is insane for a car like this, because you normally see that in sports cars and supercars. So it's actually quite a very technical vehicle. Like with the previous G-Wagons, it still has 3 locking differentials, so as to say, 1 on the front, 1 in the center, and 1 in the rear. So it's a very capable off-roader. It actually has Pirelli Scorpion tires, which are both a road tire and an off-roading tire. So there is a 9-speed automatic transmission mounted to the engine, or mated to the engine rather, and it's quite responsive, of which you'll experience in the driving part. This thing is so tall, like it's literally up to my chest. Like, yeah, with that being said, let's take a listen to the exhaust and experience how this thing drives. So guys, you joined me inside the G-Wagon and we're going for a quick drive. And I have to say, one striking thing about being in this thing is the sitting position. You just sit so high up and everything outside is just below you, and it just feels like a tank. And it's a very charming driving position. You feel like you have the whole world to yourself in a way. But I have to say, for a very big, tall and heavy vehicle, it actually doesn't feel intimidating in here. You're instantly comfortable. It feels exactly like a Mercedes-Benz, but the whole cabin is so unique because of the design layout, the squared off shapes and all of that. But the suspension, man, it feels very comfortable. It's supple over bumps, and also the sound insulation is quite good. You don't hear anything that's going on outside. It's only when you start doing high speeds where you do get a bit of wind noise, mainly because of how upright the windscreen is and the overall boxy shape of the vehicle. It's not the most aerodynamic thing, so as to say, but ride comfort is good. Seats are comfortable, suspension is comfortable, gearbox is nice and seamless, the engine is nice and quiet when you're in comfort mode, but you can always hear that rumble. Speaking of rumble, I think now we can go on the dynamic select and engage Sport Plus. Interesting enough, there is no race mode in the G-Wagon. Mostly Mercedes-Benz cars have comfort, sport plus, and then race mode. There's no race mode in this one, but they still Sport Plus. And instantly the exhaust flaps open up, the whole thing gets louder, and the tone is just so unique. I think I'm gonna roll down my driver window just so you guys can hear the sound a bit. I'll try and boot it a bit here. And man, you just instantly take off in this thing. It is actually quick, and I love how the whole nose pitches up, the rear squats down, and off you go. It's just, man, this thing it drives like a tank basically. But it's actually a lot more improved compared to the previous generation. So the previous generation had this very old school steering wheel that gave you zero feedback. This has much more modern rack and pinion steering wheel. It has a double wishbone suspension at the front, which you find in a lot of sports cars and supercars and so on. So it's quite well improved both in and out, and dynamically it's a far superior car than the previous generation, which is quite a great thing. So I want to try go into manual, because you know with a lot of these cars they tend to hold the gears for far too long when you have them in auto, especially in the sportiest setting. So I'll drop down to first gear. Man, that exhaust is it's just out there. I'll try roll down the window again. Oh man, that grumble is purely distinctively G-Wagon. Man, this thing takes off. Oh my goodness, it's actually quite ridiculous the way it's able to shift all its weight and gain so much momentum. And also the steering wheel is quite heavy. Even in comfort mode, you can feel that it's very chunky, and you do have to put a lot of effort into it. But man, that exhaust is just insane. There's also a bit of burbles. So I'll try and boot it again now. The gearbox is actually very responsive. This is a 9-speed automatic transmission, and as soon as you touch on the pedal, it does give you the next gear. So I'll boot it again. Oh man. Oh, one thing I noticed, a month or so ago we actually did a review on the BMW X6M, and although the brakes were very good on that car, you could tell that once you started pushing on, yeah, the weight was a bit too much for those brakes. In here, the whole thing confidently brakes. Like, these brakes do a solid job at stopping this whole thing. They feel a bit better than on the X6M, and the cars weigh almost the same, around the 2.5 ton mark, although I think the G-Wagon is slightly heavier. But then, to be fair, again, on the X6M we're driving on a more higher speed road, and this we're driving in a residential area, so not really the best place to exploit the braking performance. But so far they feel more confidence inspiring, more solid, and more linear than on the X6M. Man, this whole thing just grumbles like crazy. Goodness me, I see why these things are so popular. You just feel like a G inside here. Oh my goodness, the whole thing just moves around as you accelerate, which is insane. so you have to actually hold on for dear life. Oh man, this thing, you can just go through the gears and it's just oh man, this is such a unique car. There's literally nothing like it out there. Oh goodness me, what a car. What an absolute car. So I'll give you guys one last acceleration and I guess we'll conclude it right here because I could just keep on driving forever. Dude, wow man. Oh man, I think this might be overall the craziest AMG when you factor in looks, design, driving madness, and basically overall package. It's just, yeah, it's one crazy thing, man. This thing is insane. Listen to that grumble. Even when you're just chilling and you're not going crazy on it, it's just still so dramatic because of how present that sound is, that deep grumble. It just tells you I'm here. Ah, what a car. What a car. But yeah, like I said, I really do hope you guys enjoyed this review. I've been looking forward to reviewing this thing for such a long time, and until next time, that's cheers from me.